At least 5 people killed in Israeli air attacks on southern Gaza. Russian airstrikes killed 26 in devastating attack on Ukraine's Ternopil. Pakistani forces killed 23 fighters in wave of Afghan border raids. Nigeria's Tinubu delays G20 trip amid search for 24 abducted schoolgirls. Good afternoon, welcome to The World in 30 Minutes on Politics and Business Television. I'm Fatima Abubakar Oyibo. Many thanks for joining us. The set of these news stories and more content to come after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. At least 5 people have been confirmed dead following a series of Israeli airstrikes on southern Gaza, according to local authorities. The attacks reportedly struck residential zones, causing significant destruction and leaving families scrambling for safety as buildings collapsed under heavy bombardment. Emergency responders say several others were injured, with rescue teams working through the night to pull survivors from debris. Hospitals in the area, already overwhelmed by weeks of conflict, are struggling to accommodate the influx of casualties, raising concerns about access to life-saving treatment. Humanitarian organizations have condemned the escalation, warning that the rise in civilian death toll highlights the urgent need for de-escalation and protection of non-combatants. They're calling for safe corridors to deliver medical aid and essentials as the situation in Gaza continues to worsen. Meanwhile, the United States has increased the reward for information leading to the capture of a former Olympian now wanted for drug trafficking. Authorities say the ex-athlete has been linked to an international drug cartel responsible for smuggling large quantities of narcotics across North America. In a related development, Canadian law enforcement announced the arrest of 7 individuals believed to be connected to the same criminal network. Officials confirmed that the arrest followed months of investigation and collaboration between U.S. and Canadian agencies aimed at dismantling the organization's operations. The U.S. Department of Justice emphasized its commitment to bringing the fugitive to justice, urging anyone with information to come forward. Authorities warn that the suspect is considered dangerous and efforts are ongoing to prevent further criminal activity tied to the cartel. In the meantime, reports are circulating that U.S. military personnel may have attempted to restrict access to a beach in Mexico, prompting questions about the legality and purpose of such actions. Witnesses claim that troops were seen setting up barriers and monitoring the area, though official explanations remain unclear. Mexican authorities are investigating the incident, emphasizing that any foreign military activity on national soil requires prior approval. Local residents express concern over the unexpected presence of foreign forces, noting that the beach is usually open to the public and a popular spot for tourism. U.S. officials have neither confirmed nor denied the reports, but stated that all military operations abroad are conducted in coordination with host nations. Analysts say the incident highlights the sensitivity of international military cooperation and the importance of clear communication to avoid misunderstanding with local populations. The European Union has emphasized that any proposed peace plan aimed at ending the war in Ukraine must involve full consultation with both Ukraine and European partners. EU officials stress that lasting peace cannot be achieved without the direct participation of those most affected by the conflict, warning against unilateral proposals that fail to address core security concerns. In Brussels, leaders voiced skepticism over Russia's commitment to a genuine peace process, citing ongoing military actions that undermine diplomatic efforts. They urged the international community to remain vigilant and united, insisting that any credible roadmap to peace must respect Ukraine's sovereignty and ensure long-term stability in the region. In the meantime, at least 26 people have been killed in a series of Russian airstrikes on the western Ukrainian city of Ternopil, according to local authorities. The attacks, which struck residential areas and public facilities, triggered massive explosions that left buildings reduced to rubble and residents fleeing for safety. Rescue teams worked through the night, pulling survivors from collapsed structures and transporting the injured to nearby hospitals. Medical officials say emergency wards are overwhelmed overwhelmed as they struggle to manage the high number of casualties, with many victims suffering severe blast-related injuries. Ukrainian leaders have condemned the strike as a deliberate assault on civilians, calling for stronger international pressure on Moscow to halt its attacks. Global humanitarian groups are also sounding the alarm, urging immediate action to protect non-combatants and ensure aid reaches those affected by the escalating violence. In Chinese, a Chinese national who once held the position of mayor in Philippines has been sentenced to life imprisonment for human trafficking. Authorities confirmed. The court found her guilty of exploiting vulnerable individuals, highlighting the severity of her crimes and the extent of her involvement in an organized trafficking network. Philippine officials described the conviction as a significant step in the fight against human trafficking, emphasizing that public office does not provide immunity from the law. Authorities also called on communities to remain vigilant and report suspicious activities to prevent further exploitation. You're still watching The World in 30 Minutes live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, India urges COP30 to focus on climate adaptation amid domestic fund shortfall. Stay with us. Welcome back. Pakistani security forces have killed 23 militants during a series of operations along the country's border with Afghanistan, officials confirmed. The raid targeted hideouts believed to be used by armed groups responsible for cross-border attacks, with authorities describing the operation as a major success in combating regional militancy. Military sources said several weapons caches were also seized, and the raids are part of a broader strategy to secure the border and prevent infiltration. Officials warned that operations will continue until the threat is neutralized, emphasizing Pakistan's commitment to maintaining stability along its frontier with Afghanistan. India has called for upcoming COP30 climate summit to prioritize adaptation strategies to help vulnerable countries cope with the effects of climate change. Officials emphasized the need for global cooperation on infrastructure, agriculture, and disaster resilience to mitigate the growing impact of extreme weather events. At the same time, critics point out that India's domestic climate fund has been significant shortfall, limiting its ability to support local adaptation projects. Environmental experts warn that while international leadership is crucial, addressing funding gaps at home will be key to effectively implementing climate resilience measures. Well, authorities in Indonesia have confirmed that climbers on Mount Semeru are safe following a sudden volcanic eruption that prompted emergency alert. The volcano, located on the island of Java, erupted unexpectedly, sending ash plumes into the sky but causing no reported casualties among hikers. Rescue teams and park officials quickly mobilized to ensure the safety of those on the mountain, guiding climbers to secure locations. Local authorities continue to monitor the volcano closely, warning residents and tourists to remain vigilant as volcanic activity remains unpredictable. Back in Africa, President Bola Tinubu has postponed his planned trip to G20 summit as the federal government intensified efforts to locate 24 schoolgirls recently abducted in northern Nigeria. Security agencies are reportedly coordinating ground and aerial operations to track down the kidnappers and ensure the safe return of the student. The delay underscores the administration's focus on domestic security challenges, particularly the rising incident of school abductions. President Tinubu assured Nigerians that all necessary resources are being deployed to resolve the situation swiftly, while appealing to communities for information that could aid in the rescue effort. Meanwhile, South African authorities have significantly increased security measures across major cities as the country prepares to host the upcoming G20 summit. Law enforcement agencies are deploying additional personnel, barricades, and surveillance systems to manage potential protests and ensure the safety of delegates and residents. Officials stress that the heightened security is a precautionary measure in response to anticipated demonstrations by activist groups and labor unions. Citizens have been urged to stay informed about road closures and public safety advisories as authorities work to maintain order while accommodating both local and international participants during the summit. And that wraps up the program. But before we go, the headlines again. At least 5 people killed in Israeli air attacks on southern Gaza. Russian airstrikes killed 26 in devastating attack on Ukraine's Ternopil. Pakistani forces killed 23 fighters in wave of Afghan border raids. And Tinubu delays G20 trip amid search for 24 abducted schoolgirls. For more updates and in-depth analysis, follow Politics and Business TV.English on YouTube and Facebook. Connect with us on Instagram at PMBTV_English, TikTok and X at PMBTV_ENG. Remember to subscribe and stay informed. From me, Fatima Abubakar Oyibo, to have a lovely day. Bye for now.